Things First is sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
Welcome in to First Things First. I'm Sarah Kustok filling in for Jenna Wolf. That's the Hall of Famer, Cris Carter. That's Nick Wright. I would say happy Friday and ask how you guys are doing,
but I knock that out
I
your
think
hands.
we already know the answer.
Yeah. So
it was a tough one last night.
It was a tough one.
He may want your Yankees.
Oh, yeah, let me throw you some damn tissues for your Yankees down 3-1.
I will cry, but not over the Yankees. But back to you. Get yourself a tissue.
We'll keep these on the table for now because we got a big show coming up. The Cowboys and Eagles face off in an epic NFC East battle. Kyler Murray and Daniel Jones go head-to-head as we get a glimpse of the future of the NFL. But we start with a huge blow for both the Chiefs and the league as a whole. Chiefs and Broncos Thursday Night Football last night, and the news of the night happened on this play. 4th and 1, Chiefs call for a quarterback sneak with their already hobbled MVP quarterback Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes injured on the play, reportedly suffering a dislocated kneecap. Now, Kansas City has an MRI scheduled today to determine potential ligament damage. Mahomes was able to walk off on his own power while his team did pick up the 30-6 win over Denver. They lost their star, though, in the process. And after the game, Mahomes tweeted, "Awesome team win. Love my brothers. Thank you for all the prayers. Everything looking good so far." Here's head coach Andy Reid on his quarterback.
Just as far as the injuries go, the main one is, and the only one, was Patrick. And we'll wait till we get back to give you further evaluation on it. He's in a good place. I mean, he was in a good place on the field when it happened. Grimace, our doc, was phenomenal and just calming everything down. Dr. Schruppel, he just kind of calmed the storm right there, and Pat was good. Felt very comfortable with him. He refused to get in that cart. Not too many people get hurt on a sneak, and so it's a freak thing, and it happens. So.
All right, Steve, what's your reaction to Mahomes' injury?
I mean, I don't have a negative reaction. It's the NFL. I mean, we have a number of quarterbacks that are already out. I mean, some of our best quarterbacks that ever played the game. So to think that a guy can get hurt playing in the game and I'd be surprised, no. This happens in Deshaun Watson. He gets hurt in practice 2 seasons ago. So this is part of the NFL. Andy Reid did say it was a freak thing. Yes, I will say that. But it's all part of development. Like, we watch these guys play, and if you look at Patty Mahomes, if you look at Baker Mayfield, and Coach Mangini always says it, oh, Nick's trying to put guys in the Hall of Fame. But that's what we do. Like, we think these guys are great, and they're going to have 10, 15 years of sustained success, and we don't know that. This is just one bump in the road, in the journey of being a pro athlete. Like, I'm glad it's not his shoulder. I'm glad it's not, I'm glad he didn't dislocate his knee. Like, this could be a lot worse. So, to me, I don't think this is the type of injury that really altered the career of other really, really talented young players, and that being RG3 or Dante Culpepper. Dante Culpepper shattered his knee, altered his career. He was never the same again. RG3 was never the same again psychologically, or was he the same athlete? But Patty Mahomes has a higher football IQ, has more arm talent than those guys. I don't believe this will alter his career, but he will, just like the other great quarterbacks that we've seen. He will have to make adjustments to the game. Dan Marino, he hurt his knee at Pittsburgh. Now, modern-day medicine is a lot better, but Dan Marino went on to have a number of surgeries on those knees that he couldn't be the athlete that he was. So he learned how to play in the pocket. John Elway, he hurt his knee in high school and then went on to have a bunch of knee problems, but they learned how to play ultimately in the pocket. Patty Mahomes is ultimately going to have to play in the pocket. I don't believe this is going to affect him. If this was Lamar in Baltimore, I would have a little more concern because I don't think he's ready to do that full time. I know Patty Mahomes can play in the pocket full time, Nick.
This is depending on the prognosis in the MRI today, depending on whether he's out a month or the rest of the season, this is just different levels of devastating for not just Chiefs fans, but if you're a football fan. This is not the Kansas City and Nick Wright saying this. He is one of the 3 or 4 most exciting players to watch in the entire league. He is a guy that you set appointments to watch because he does things that almost no other player in the league can do. And while Coach Mangini can give me a hard time all he wants for putting guys in the Hall of Fame, I don't think it is hyperbole at all to say what we saw from Patrick Mahomes in the only full season we'd ever seen from him was the greatest introductory season any quarterback has ever had. Now, because the game is so brutal, because you have a near 100% injury rate, you can't ever put guys in the Hall of Fame. RG3's rookie year was sensational.
Yep.
And then he was never anywhere close to that. Now, this doesn't appear to be that type of injury, but it is so disappointing because you mentioned Deshaun Watson. This did remind me of a couple years ago where in a very short period of time, we lost Aaron Rodgers for the bulk of the season with a collarbone injury. Deshaun Watson was having just a sensational first month of his career. We lose him in practice with a torn ACL, and it just makes the league less fun to watch. Now, for Mahomes, you are happy. What Andy Reid said is important. The 2 points. One is his knee was, the kneecap, pardon me, they relocated it, if you will. I don't know the medical term for it, right there on the field. So it was dislocated for the shortest period of time possible. And he refused the cart. And you could even see his gait by the time he got close to the end zone was already improved. The question will be, was there ligament damage? If there was, they will have to do surgery. If there wasn't, there will be a question about whether they're going to do surgery now or wait till the end of the season.
Yeah, anytime you have a knee injury in the NFL, don't get consumed with the walk-off.
Of course.
Because almost all the guys that I've seen shatter their knee, I'm talking about, I have shaken hands with guys. Man, are you all right? Yeah, feels a little tight, all right, but I feel like I'm okay. And then you get that MRI, what happens? ACL torn, MCL torn. So we've seen a lot of people walk, and that walk is deceptive. It's deceiving. It will fool a lot of people. But Patty Mahomes refused to get on that cart, which we've seen a lot of NFL players do. I believe he'll be back. I believe he'll be back within a month. I believe he'll probably miss 3 or 4 games. There's other players that have had this type of injury. So I don't think it will affect just their arc of their season. But for me, as long as I've been watching the game, every season I expect great players to get hurt. Because this is not a contact sport. It is a collision sport. And there's only 2 groups that really aren't ready for those collisions. And that's the kickers and the quarterbacks. The rest of them are full-time football players, so I do expect them to be hurt year in and year out.
One quick follow-up before we get to the QB sneak part of it. The point Chris keeps making, which is the most causes the most apprehension for, I think, football fans and Chiefs fans is, does this change when Patrick Mahomes comes back, whether it be in a month or the beginning of next season, the type of football player that he is? Because while I said last week when we were talking about the ankle injury, that he can, in the pocket, he's one of the best quarterbacks in football, but what has made him the league MVP is what he does in the pocket and what he does outside of the pocket. How much is that affected long-term from this moment?
And you bring it up. We had been talking about Patrick Mahomes, the ankle injury he's been dealing with the last few weeks.
Yes.
Andy Reid calls this a freak accident. But what was going through your mind? Did you make of the fact that Chiefs 4th and 1 that Reid calls a quarterback?
Yeah, there's freak accidents. There's freak accidents when you're riding in your car, too. But do you have on your seatbelt? Because that's going to prevent you from a lot of things. Patrick Mahomes got hurt in week number 1. He re-aggravated in week number 5 and at least week number 6. In those situations, I need someone else on that roster to go get me 6 or 8 inches. Andy Reid, with all his creativity, yes, I do know that the quarterback sneak is the most effective way to get 1 yard. But we go through periods of time where if the center had a bad back, would we run a quarterback sneak or would we run a toss or something? We would do something different. And you do the same thing for your quarterback. A lot of times in pro sports, sir, you know this, you have to take that decision away from the athlete. If Patty Mahomes comes over to the side and said, Andy, it's the 4th and 1, 3rd and 1, what should we run? He said, let's run a quarterback sneak. You got it. He'd be like, yeah, coach, I got it. I'm going to go for it. No, you have to remove that from them for a number of reasons. You can't predict what's going to happen. And as much as these quarterbacks think they're football players, they're not. They're not used to getting hit. You can't predict who's going to hit him, what's going to happen to him in the pile, and it is the least practiced play in football. Anybody say they go to a practice and they doing live quarterback sneaks, they are not telling you the truth. Ask Andy Reid, when was the last time Patty Mahomes did a live quarterback sneak, coach?
Outside of the game. Right, in practice. It's not something, because the reason you don't practice it, tell me if you disagree, is because if you're going to practice it live, there are so many bodies all falling in the same direction, a freak thing can happen. Now, Chris is right. The numbers are, this is the most effective play in football. 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1, if you got to have it, the absolute right play is this play. My problem is, this is the 2nd quarter of a game you're leading in November with your injured franchise quarterback. You don't got to have it.
No.
And if this was 4th and 1 with Patrick Mahomes on a gimpy ankle in the AFC Championship game, got up and go get it. And if this happens...
Right. It's no different than doing an injury report during the week. If you got wide receivers, I'm not going to throw the ball 50 times if they're banged up.
Yeah.
Like, you have to use wisdom and be smart in these situations. So for me, for the first 10 weeks of the season, he would have been out of quarterback sneaking. And then once he started getting healthier, and if I got into we got to have it situation, then I would go to it. But that was not the situation. And you have to be able to protect athletes from themselves, because we will run into a brick wall. If it's to get a win, if it's to get a catch, if it's to get a reception, if it's to get a tackle, we will do that. And Patty Mahomes was doing just what the coach. So Andy Reid knows today, because now looking back at it, he can say whatever he wants to. It's a freak injury, but it happened to your guy.
And it's, Chris, it's an indicative of everything matters. And I say that in this regard. This wasn't about Patrick Mahomes' ankle injury that he came into the game with.